Hi, my name is Jimmy Williams with NFL Draft Diamonds. And today I have a diamond in the rough I'd like you guys to meet. This here is Nicholas Gaes. He is a defensive lineman out of South Dakota. Nice to meet you, sir.
Nice to meet you, Jimmy.
Hey, man, appreciate having you here today. I feel like lots of people need to get to know you. Dude, for what it's worth, feel like your team had a very solid outing this past year. Really just, I don't know, put all your efforts out on the table, and you yourself being a dominant force there on that defensive line, making a ton of great plays. So, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and let's get going?
I'm Nick Gaes. I'm from Elta, Iowa, class of 2019, graduating class of 2025. I started out my career in 21 as a redshirt COVID freshman, and I've just been dominating ever since. I mean, I've taken step by step. My first 3 years played as an interior D lineman, and my last year played as an edge defender.
Yeah, and, honestly, Nick, that's probably one of the best things that I feel you have going for you is some good size and versatility, and we'll hopefully talk a little bit more about you and what you've been able to do. But bro, before we get any further, kind of want to set the stage of you as a football player. So, tell me a little bit about your history of playing football. How long have you played the sport?
I've been playing since third grade. My dad was my head coach all the way up until sixth grade. Kind of taught me everything I needed to know with tackling, being smart when it comes to playing the defensive line, and just trusting your instincts.
So, were you always a defensive lineman? I mean, did you move around some? Talk to me.
I started in third grade as a defensive lineman because they had the weight system back then. If you were heavy enough, you had to be on the line. So I was defensive lineman, O lineman, all the way up until I think it was sixth or seventh grade, and the weight limit went up. So I finally had the chance to be able to catch the ball and run the ball. Played a couple snaps at QB when I was little, so I mean that was fun. But
All right.
I think as I was going through high school, I mean I switched all around from middle linebacker to interior to edge defender. I mean it was just hard for teams to be able to block me all throughout my little kids in high school career.
Interesting. Of course, playing with people a lot smaller than you for quite some time.
Yeah.
Obviously, Nick, standout football player, but also played a lot of other sports during your high school days. There at Alta Aurelia High School, baseball, wrestling, track and field, seemingly almost every sport you could possibly do. Talk a little bit about your time as a high school athlete.
I think at the time I just wanted to be active in everything, just try everything. So once football was over, it was wrestling season. I mean, I was a pretty good wrestler. My career ended with 171, and I think it was 26 or 28 for my record.
Okay.
I finished fifth place my junior year and finished runner up my senior year in the state of Iowa, which is pretty difficult to do. And then moving on
There's a
to
lot of great wrestlers in the state of Iowa.
there are a lot of good
So
ones.
that's saying a lot.
So yeah,
Nice.
wrestling pretty much taught me the foundation of football once I started learning it. I mean, it got me better at tackling, got me better with leverage, and it just helped me in general. It made you want to make faster moves once you got up to a dude.
Interesting. So I had to put in my notes as you had spoken 171 victories on the mat as a wrestler. Also, decent track and field athlete, a thrower. I have in my notes a 51-10 and 3/4 inch shot put
Yes,
is
sir.
what I was able to pull up for you, which is solid. Sometimes those throws are more just sheer brute strength, man. Like I don't know, if that was a sport that you took much time in at all. Any, what?
I mean, in track, I didn't really. I mean, I care about the throwing. It wasn't my favorite. It was the hurdles. I loved hurdling. I mean, I had the size for it. I was the biggest dude, and I ran the fastest times whenever we competed.
Interesting. Interesting that you preferred the hurdles for a guy who plays a defensive lineman. Kind of curious though. I mean, when you're coming out of Alta, Iowa, how was the recruiting for you? I mean, obviously ended up at South Dakota, but I'm sure a lot of guys growing up in Iowa, like you want to play for the big time programs. Talk about the recruiting and your options.
So I did a couple camps my junior year. I went to an Iowa State one. I went to two Iowa ones, and it was actually that second Iowa camp that South Dakota found me. And at the time, Noah Fensky was Iowa's number one O line recruit, and I went into board drill with him and actually gave him a severe concussion during it. So the rest of the camp, South Dakota pretty much followed me around, and after it, they invited me to their camp, and after that camp happened, they offered me a full ride, and that was my first full ride that I received. So, I mean, I kind of just went from there. I looked at location, how close they were. I mean, it's only an hour away from my family, so it's a little bit better on them. Better than Iowa City, where it's almost 3.5, 4 hours from them. So I
Okay.
think, I mean, USC really won me over once they started following me and showed the interest that they did.
Well, I mean, obviously they really wanted you. They offered you very early on. Bro, you've been there for forever. This is your sixth season. You finished up with your eligibility. Obviously that place has been I'm sure it has a special place for you. Um, Talk about that school, maybe people that have never visited, and really what you maybe even what you did there as a student.
So we started out freshman year. I mean, we didn't really have a name for ourselves yet. I mean, we got all new coaching staff, got a new defensive coordinator, Travis Johansson. He came in, said some inspirational things about turning the place around and that we were going to be the guys to do it. And me and Blake Holden kind of stuck with it and changed the defense. We made it into one of the best rushing defenses in the FCS, close to being one of the best passing defenses, but I mean we weren't the best at it. But it wasn't just us two. It was Joey Lombard, Travis Tice, Carter Bell, us true 5, 6 guys that 6 years and made it special for everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, obviously during your time there, you guys really established, a dominant team. Often get forgotten amongst the other Dakota teams, if we're being
Yeah.
honest. But you guys, I I really felt this year, this was a year that you guys were to be reckoned with. You were going to put together a solid squad, both on offense and defense. And you look up and down on that roster, and you see some studs all over the place.
Hmm.
You talked about a couple of them, and obviously you being a solid fixture there on the defensive line. Of course, moved around a little bit. Can you talk a little bit about your role there on defense? In what you did. I mean, again, we talk a little bit about you shifting around somewhat, but do you have any other role out there, and really how you were utilized on that defense?
So I mean, starting out my career, I guess I shared it with the seniors. Started as an interior D lineman, and at the time, our coach, the way he was teaching it is the more knockback you get, the easier it makes your job. And I mean, that's what our D line did in 21. We got the knockback and we made it easier for our linebackers, and that's why our linebackers was just so good at recognizing the play because I mean kind of easy when you had three defensive linemen knocking back O linemen 4 or 5 yards, and no, the running back has nowhere to go. And that's kind of how it was through 21, 22, 23, and then 24 when I switched positions. I mean, it got a little bit more challenging because you have more space to work with on the strong side of the field. So, I mean, you really had to know your assignment on what you were doing. Um, and some of it, it was challenging, and some of it, I mean, it came natural to me because, I mean, I played it all through my high school and childhood career.
So, let's talk a little bit more about this position switch because obviously, man, you have proven yourself to your school, and you rank actually fairly high on the career number of sacks, despite you mostly getting those as a defensive tackle. But then, of course, coming in this season completely blowing it out the water with several sacks. Ended up being named first team all conference, being an edge rusher too, which I know you got to be proud of. But anything more about that switch from D tackle to D end that we need to, I guess, get out there for people?
I mean, the only thing that was a lot better is that I didn't have to deal with so much double teams. But I mean, it's kind of easy to defeat a double team once you know how to defeat the leverage of the old lineman. But switching out to the outside, I mean, picking on one dude the whole entire time is it's a lot more better than having to react and pick on two dudes at the same time. But the switch, I mean, if I were to do it, I'd do it all again and go play um, defensive end and try to do it my whole career because I think I could have been one of the best in the FCS if I truly got to work with it all the time and show my abilities.
So if we're, I mean, obviously we're now looking at you as an NFL prospect, a dude standing about 6'4", 275. What are we looking at as a prospect? Are we still looking at a defensive lineman, an edge rusher, somewhere in between? Bro, I know you even played a little nose during your day too. So I mean, but I don't necessarily see you doing that at the professional level. What type of athlete are we looking at?
I mean, I think I could be an all-around athlete. I could play at the secondary level as a blitzing linebacker. I could play the edge, and I mean, I know how to set the edge and keep stringing it along if it were to get run out. And I mean, like you said, the nose position. I mean, yeah, it was challenging, but shoot, I think I could still run it with Blake Holden in there.
Well, sure. I mean, but again, I kind of jest a bit in that we don't necessarily see guys 275-ish doing that professionally, but certainly showcasing the fact that you're at least tough enough to take on those double teams if put in that position. But obviously a fighter on the edge who can really beat his guy one on one and make a play in the backfield. So did a lot of great things this past year. Of course, leading up to this year had some good moments as well, but kind of want to focus a little bit on your highlights from this past season. Bro, out of the gate, you guys are playing against Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, if there's a team that might be a sleeper pick for somebody to maybe, bet on, these South Dakota guys, they could do it. You guys had the potential to maybe upset that team. I mean, obviously ended up coming up close, but I kept thinking, man, you had to be giving them fits that game.
I mean not the linebackers, the tight ends and the tackles didn't like going against me and my keys. I mean, we were giving them a run for their money the whole game. But I mean, there was points you're right about. We should have won. We got that or that punt recovery that they fumbled on the 8 yard line that we should have capitalized on. There were several penalties that should have never happened that put them in field goal range, and they actually scored off of that drive that we got all the penalties. So I mean, we kind of just once we put our head down, I mean, we're kind of an unstoppable team in the second half. I mean, we didn't really let them score more than seven that half.
I mean, it was close enough. I mean, the in score separated, was it 13-27? You yourself had a really good outing. You had 10 tackles in that game. You had one sack. And being able to say that you got a sack against a well-established big time program in Wisconsin, dude, that had to be a moment.
It was definitely a moment. I mean, when you see all 60,000 fans just be quiet and you hear South Dakota cheering in your corner, I mean, it's such a rush to hear our fan base. I mean, they were spectacular all season.
Awesome. I would imagine probably one of the biggest games, if not the biggest game this year, was against NDSU. Obviously, most of the time treated like the little brother or the
Yeah.
stepchild, that no one really, pays attention to, but got one over on the big boys this go around, man. You guys ended up with a solid victory when it was all said and done. Talk to me about that game.
I mean, it's one of those games that you had to grind all 60 minutes no matter what happened. And I mean, we got to that fourth quarter, we were down by two scores, and we just thought to ourselves, I mean, one of our pillars is believe, and that's what our team did. We believed and we pulled it out and we won the game. We made ourselves conference champions and first time ever, and it was exciting to be a part of.
So, I mean, again, I have to kind of go back to this because most everybody always thinks about NDSU, SDSU really dominating. And I'm thinking to myself, here's South Dakota coming along, sneaking up on people, getting these victories. Obviously, man, you guys had a very great year. You guys were this close to a national title picture, but you walk away with your head held high, with a whole lot of great moments this past season and throughout your whole career. Um, as a lot of you seniors are moving on, how's the team going to look next year?
I mean, we still keep majority of our offense, so I mean, we didn't really lose a whole lot there. It's going to be our defense, our defensive line. We lost all four guys. I mean, me, Mo, and Blake graduated, and unfortunately, I mean, Mike East Grace transferred to Kentucky, and he's going to have a successful career there. I know it. We lost all of our secondary guys, Dennis Shorter, Mike Reed, who were big impacts in the secondary. I mean, Tommy Malott said it himself. I mean, he's scared when it comes to Dennis Shorter. I mean, he's gonna slide every time. So Dennis was definitely a dude that I mean, he's a scary secondary dude. I mean, I would not want to go across the middle with him. You know, you're
Gotcha.
gonna get your head smacked.
Well, obviously, we've closed the door on you as a collegiate player. Looking forward to you as a professional athlete here very soon. As you are preparing for your pro day, where are you at? What are you doing?
I'm up in Anoka, Minnesota, with Joey Lombard. We are training in inspired athletics in Minnetonka, Plymouth area, I think.
I think it's Plymouth,
I think it's Plymouth too.
but it's no,
Um,
it's all
we've
good.
been training there since the 3rd of January, and ever since I started training there, I mean, all my numbers and I mean, my body, it feels amazing. It's the best I've felt in 3 years since 21.
Cool. So, can you give me a glimpse as to maybe what some of these pro day numbers are going to be? Like, you ain't gotta tell me all of them, but give me at least some inkling as to what we're going to expect from Nick Gaze there.
My pro agility is probably gonna be my biggest one. I'm gonna be running under a 4, so I'm gonna be running that DB and wide receiver time, which is gonna be crazy at my size, running at 280, 285. And then my 3 cone, I'm gonna be running that under my goal is a 6'7", which is up there in those
That's kind of
it's pretty good
unheard of.
times.
So,
I'm here
uh,
to show on real times. I mean, I'm willing to prove anything that's possible.
yeah, I mean, obviously, out there in Minnesota right now, saw some box jumps posted online of you. doing some crazy things there, getting yourself prepped up and ready to go. Interesting prospect, definitely coming out of South Dakota this year in Nick Gaes. Want to get a chance to meet you off the, outside of you as a football player, though. If there's anything more that you want to share, whether it be any fun fact, any hobbies, any special talents or something, give me a little interesting thing that you want to share.
Well, I actually got two of them. I mean, one of the hobbies that I like to do is that I'm a big fisherman. Big open water, big ice fisherman. If you catch me on an off day, I'll probably be out on the ice or in my boat fishing. The other thing, I own a wildlife control business called Critter Getter. We're based out in Northwest Iowa, and one crazy fact about it is I have two pet raccoons named Robert and Rocket.
Wow.
Robert's 7 years old, and Rocket's 5.5. And they both weigh probably over 50 pounds.
Have mercy. Goodness gracious. You have pet raccoons?
Yes, sir.
So you have trash pandas just kind of wandering around the house?
Acting like cats and dogs, yeah.
That's amazing. I think that that's pretty funny. Um, Interesting. So again, ice fisherman is definitely interesting. I mean, I'm sitting here complaining about weather being in the mid 20s here. I'm pretty sure you're like that's nothing where you're at.
No, we're
But
negative 30s right now.
yeah, forget that, man. That's all you. um, I want to see if maybe there's some more things that I can ask about you. For guys that have for a guy that has raccoons around the house, I don't know if there's I don't know what's on the menu for you normally. So,
Uh,
uh,
the
so
good
talk to
thing
me
about a
about.
raccoon is they kind of act like a cat and a dog. The potty training, we train them to use cat litter, and I mean they're pretty smart at using it. And then for food, it's either vanilla cookies or it's like wet dog food. Because you know how raccoons they like to wash their food before they eat it. They gotta clean it.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, their water dish has to be changed at least 4 or 5 times a week because they're it's dirty from them washing their food.
All right. So obviously spending a whole lot of time taking care of your pets. And then when you don't, maybe you're outside doing something. Are you much of a guy for movies or what?
I mean, I love movies. I probably watched a majority of from all the way back in the '80s, all the way until now. My favorite classic movie is probably Longest Yard.
Okay, that
So
works. What was the
it's a good
last movie that you watched that was like maybe in the theater or something? I mean, are you a guy who's a streamer?
in the theater. Shoot, it's been a while. Probably King Kong versus Godzilla was probably my last one back in 23, I think.
Okay, okay. Um, See if I can throw a couple more questions your way. These are just kind of a little bit for fun. You play any instruments or have any desire to play another instrument at all or no?
Like what do you mean by instrument?
Like guitar, piano, anything like that.
I mean, I did band my seventh and eighth grade year.
Okay.
I played the baritone, which was a very heavy instrument. So yeah, carrying that around marching and having to do practice lessons with that and take it home on the bus and everything. Yeah, it's quite a workout. It's not fun
So
to
could
carry.
so could you still maybe pick it up and play a little bit now or no?
Uh, I think if we still did the old songs like we practiced, I think I could still do it.
Okay. Interesting. See if I can ask you a couple more and then we'll wrap this joker up. Uh, I don't know. Hey, this is a very new question for me, and it's just kind of here for fun. Uh, are aliens real?
I believe they are.
Okay, why not, right? Um, Figured I'd ask. I mean, for a guy out maybe in the middle of nowhere, weird stuff sometimes happens. So, like, I
You
don't
are
know.
right. Yes, weird stuff does happen. Like like 20 lights in a row just appearing out of nowhere. It's on my TikTok right now of it, and I believe aliens are real
All right.
because that
Well,
stuff just does not happen. It doesn't show up in the middle of the night, full lights, and just boop, gone.
yeah, so some spooky stuff happening. This is interesting. Obviously, want to shift gears back to the pro side of things. Playing on the defensive line, now playing edge rusher. Who do you feel is playing it at the most elite level in the NFL right now?
Ah, shoot. I had to say probably Bosa, not Joey, Nick. But it's kind of awful that what he had to go through with his injury with his knee, and then if I had to say another one, probably Aiden Hutchinson, which is also another one that got injured, which very tragic. But I mean, those two are two freakish athletes that know how to bend a corner and get to the ball.
Gotcha. Big fan of any particular sports team, even if it's not NFL. I mean, are you into any other sport? I mean, talk to me.
Vikings. Been a
Vikings.
Vikings fan ever since third grade, ever since my grandfather took me to the first my first Vikings game. Got to meet I think 30 players, and then got to meet all the cheerleaders.
Nice. Always a nice thing there. Big fan of any of the other teams out there or no?
If I had a second pick, it'd probably be the Dolphins. My dad's favorite team.
I was thinking more so like I didn't know if like you were into baseball, hockey, or something
Oh,
like
like that?
that.
Shoot, if I had to pick baseball, it'd probably be the Chicago Cubs.
Okay, cool. Just wanted to throw that out there. Obviously, Nick, we're talking under this idea, of course, you trying to get into the league. We're at the point of our time where we kind of need to wrap things up. So, a lot of time here, just kind of shooting the breeze, talking about God knows what, of course. But of course, let's bring it all back and wrap it up. Obviously, man, want to shock some people at your pro day. Already had a fantastic season this past year, fantastic career even. As we wrap it up, tell everybody why you need to be, signed, drafted, given an opportunity in the NFL, and really what you would give to a team if given that opportunity. So, close with your thoughts.
I mean, I think the reason teams should sign with me is that I can bring the leadership, the competitiveness, the energy. Um, I think ever since that we got to South Dakota, I mean, we changed the culture. We changed everything about the team. We made it a team. We made it a player v player instead of player v coach. I mean, that's what wins teams is players being closer with other players. And I think that's what I bring to the table. I know how to get people to get along with each other, people to have friendships and just get closer with each other. And I think that's my strong suit of what I bring to the table.
Cool. I mean, definitely some good size, some great versatility. Again, as you had mentioned, great leader, a game changer. Bro, you put together a phenomenal season, breaking nearly some near records for your team. Ended up being an all conference athlete. And now we're looking at you as a NFL prospect. So want to wish you all the best in your endeavors. All right.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Sure thing. Again, I got with me Nicholas Gaes, defensive lineman, South Dakota. Check him out.